Page 28. The question of the names. A curious aspect of Catharism is that the names used by scholars that belong to the terminology used by the Cathars come from the sources of the Inquisition, starting with the very name Cathars. It is absolutely certain that the Cathars did not use it. Moreover, they didn't call themselves Cathars. So where did this name come from, and what does it mean? As regards the origin of this name, there are two different explanations, both ancient and authoritative, that still divide the scholars today. The name Catharos appears for the first time in the 12th century, in the Sermons Against Catharos by the monk Ecbert de Schönau, which, beginning from the German term Keter, in brackets heretics, deemed wrongly to be derived from the Greek word katharos, in brackets pure, writes katharos, that is, pure ones. This is the most frequent etymology in texts on Catharism. At the end of the 12th century, Alano de Lilla, in his On Catholic Faith, furnished three different etymological hypotheses, among them one which maintained Catharos came from catus, in brackets cat, because according to what was said, they kissed the posterior of a cat, under which aspect, they say, their Lucifer appears. It's clear that this is a hateful slander. But where the etymology is concerned, some among the most authoritative scholars, Duvernay, Roquebert, deemed that this was correct because given that the Cathars refused it, that name must have in their eyes a derogatory connotation. These heretics came to be designated with a name derived from the ancient heresies, Manichaean, Arian, Epicurean, or with local labels such as Peoples or Publicans in Flanders, Catar or Keter in Germany, Patarians in Italy, Bogomils, that is Bulgars in France, Texarans, that is Tisserans in northern France, Albigensians in Occitania, and still more. In Italy they came to be known above all as Patarians, this also being a derogatory term given that it means ragamuffins, beggars. In a Milanese environment where this term originated, the German Cathars was, however, preferred, as it also came from a writing still legible today under the equestrian high relief that camps on the walls of the Broletto in Mercanti Square in Milan, dating back to 1230 approximately, and with a reference to the magistrate Oldrado da Treseno, ends with Catharos ut debuit uxit, that is, the Cathars, as he had to, he burned. Page 29. The Cathars rejected all these terms. In general, it was said that they identified themselves as good Christians. It's true, but an important clarification must be made. This term came to be used for those who had received the consolamentum, their only sacrament, that corresponded not so much to baptism, as is generally said, but to ordination, given that, even with substantial differences, the consolamentum could in some way be thought similar to the Catholic priesthood. The simple faithful were classed as believers, which was exactly the same term used by the original Christians, as was attested in the Acts of the Apostles, from the Pauline letters, and the Gospel of John. It is still used today to describe Christians, above all in contrast to the non-believers. Besides that, good Christians, or Christians, those that had received the consolamentum, came to be called consolati, bonhomii, that is, good men, a term derived from the very much diffused bons hommes in Occitania, beards or good beards. An odd name due to the fact that before the first hints of persecution, the Cathar consolati wore beards. It was a name also used by the Waldensians, who in Piedmont called their pastors beards. The Inquisition called them male and female perfects. It sounds like an encomium, but it was certainly not to be understood in a laudatory sense, but in the sense of complete heretic, that is, perfectus, finished, complete, total. that is, good for abandoning to the secular powers with the prospect of burning at the stake. The writings on the Cathars, as well as the most recent, always use the term perfect, usually in quotes, because that is what is found in the sources. To show respect for the Cathars, I prefer not to use such terms in these pages. However, given that the denomination good Christians could lead to misunderstanding, I will use consolati.